Well, welcome to Flat Earth and the Bible. I've got an incredible special guest tonight. This is Flat Earth and the Bible. I'm your host, Robbie Davidson. We've got Jeffrey Grupp. A lot of you will know his work, and some of you obviously won't. So we're going to get right into the backstory, what he's been up to lately, and it's going to be an exciting show. So, Jeff, you there?
I sure am. Great to be here.
Great. It's great having you. Like I said, just been amazing following your work and even just getting into your story and just what led you up to what you're doing now. And I think for a lot of people, myself included, testimonies are so powerful. And I think that you've got like just an absolute incredible testimony to share with the world. And I mean, if you could just maybe start with just kind of give us some of your backstory. I know that you've been featured on Coast to Coast and you've dabbled in the occult and been a Buddhist, and you've done, teaching critical thinking and schooling and just unbelievable stories. So maybe you can just start from just what led you up to present.
Yeah, that's the big thing with my life now. I became a Christian on April 16 last year, and that, yeah, mean, I had no idea what that was all about. Um, the way it happened specifically was, yeah, I was into all kinds of other things that we can discuss. And yeah, occult is, I had a lot of problems to be, they were really problems in a dark sense, which I can get into what I mean more about that later. But I had, so I was into this and that and whatever philosophy, or and dabbling in shamanism and Buddhism and so forth, doing conspiracy radio. And then last year I had for several months, February up till April 16, had some very I started seeing some things. I thought that I was going, I thought I was going crazy. It was really, that sensation when you're not imagining something, you're seeing something. At least, people hearing this will think that is, well, you really were seeing. Well, I can't prove it to you, and that's not the point of this. This is something that there's a lot of Christians have dealt with, and has shown them the truth of what's going on in reality. And I so and they really escalated, and they became horrific, and they were associated with, just to be honest, some very scary illnesses, um, to do with my children, especially one of my children. And uh, that was something. Thinking back, weird stuff. Oh, all of a sudden you've got these crazy bumps all over your skin, and they're correlated. I'm a numerology person. Um, that's just what I think. Whatever logos is, just the mighty wind of God. Um, the mighty mind of God creating everything. We're seeing numerology. If you want to understand what it's about, numerology is the mathematics. The mathematics of meaning is what it is. And these illnesses were correlated with that very heavily. Because I'm always paying attention to specific days and of the month and so forth, and you can anticipate certain sorts of, if there's going to be times where it's harder to take care of your children, people aren't feeling as happy, and kids are fighting and so forth. You can anticipate things like that coming to prepare, really, for extra prayer time and so forth. But anyway, so the illnesses were very scary, and I started having dreams about my wife getting in a car crash. And we had drove a Jeep. And I understand a lot of people won't believe this story, and I'm okay with, that's fine. I'm not trying to prove anything to anybody here. This is uh, I can't deny what happens, and I just want to tell about it. So, um, and so yeah, it was the back corner of the Jeep Commander that she drives our 4 kids around in, and they were pretty vivid, a couple of them, and even one of them turned even into a sort of like, when you're having a real intense daydream. I remember one time, shortly before it happened, and I was telling my wife, there's something. I think you're gonna get in a car crash. And I even started getting scared. I was even doing weird things like clamping down, making sure the stroller and the Jeep's clamped down right. And making, what's the safest route, because she goes through the country. And I really did. I researched, I actually went on the computer and researched the road and found out, as I suspected, it was all kinds of people had died on that road, including someone who lived in this house in the 1940s. Interesting. There's all kinds of amazing things, going on that people that just open their eyes would see. You just got to think about what's going on in your life and not believe this idea that it's all just chance. You might be surprised, but anyway, and now all the while this is happening, these I'm sort of having sort of biblical types of things that I'm seeing, and they are really scaring me. I mean, very, it felt, I saw it as real, and I didn't know what was going on. It was, it was interrupting my day. And I had trouble working. That's it's a big deal. I'm supporting wife and 4 kids here, running a business, and so then it's really just out of control. There was a trip I went on for business. I went to a hotel, and it was there's a lot of people in this world that have seen sort of biblical religious entities, beings, and so forth. It's made them Christians. A lot of people through Ouija board experimentation and so forth. We live in a reality where we're told that all this is nonsense, but that has to be proven that it's nonsense, because I think most of us deep down sense that there's been times in our life where we've seen things. So it's normal to be having experiences like this. We're just amazingly taught to poo-poo them as if they're not significant. I mean, people can have very significant things happen to them and sort of just poo-poo them. So, and then think maybe back later and like, wow, that, I have maybe had some spiritual experiences or something, or interventions of, with, God or something. And, people can just pass over that because they're taught that, oh, it's just coincidence or their imagination or something. So anyways, so this all escalates, and really was a terrible time. It was an amazing time. And then, so my wife, she calls me one day, I'm working, and she calls, and I just knew it. I knew that. It was the day before it. She called me, and I'm like, are you in an accident? I said, because she knew I was thinking about this and I was talking about this. She said, no, I'm not. This is on the 15th, tax day last year. I'm like, okay. And then the next, she's calling me on the way to pick up the girls from the kids from school. We have a private school that our kids go to near our house. And, I just knew, I knew no way to be heard. Everybody be okay. So I was calm about it. I was like, okay, it's now the time. It was amazing. So, and then the next day she calls, going to pick up the girls. And I said, I sensed it. I'm like, you in an accident? And no. And then this is the day of. And I'm like, okay. And then she calls back, about 10 minutes later. And I'm like, I got up from my seat, picked up the phone, was up the stairs. I knew that was it. And, I mean, again, it's a wild story for, people to hear this, but I think this stuff kind of goes on all the time. If people, you got to turn off the TV or something, because it's easy to forget this stuff. Significant things can happen, and it can pass right by you because you're too busy or something. And they could have a lot of meaning if you understand what they are. But anyways, day-to-day events are like that. So, but anyways, so yeah, then so they're in this really horrific crash on a highway right near where the kids' school is, and so I'm I know nobody's hurt, but I'm scared. So I'm driving down there fast, and I get there, and it's a wild scene. Your car's smashed. Our Jeep is trashed in that right in that corner, the only corner where nobody was sitting. I've got 4 kids, and that's a 3-row vehicle. That was the only spot in that back corner nobody's sitting, and there's a bunch of significances to that whole thing. And I mean, I don't want to say too much because people will start to say, okay, oh, what's next now? But it was all mathematically somehow designed in some ways by who knows exactly. Just the way the universe works is not by, there's a different set of laws that rule events, and it's, you know, discoverable through the mathematics of numerology. But anyways, that's a whole other show. So then all the stuff that I'm seeing, which escalated so much right to that point, vanished. And, you know, I didn't even put that together until later because I was so taken with everything that happened at the accident. It was so scary. It's unbelievably scary. You know, checking that my kids had seen the Jeep, like, oh, really? That's our car. And then the car that hit our Jeep, I mean, there is a serious miracle here. There wasn't a couple people, you know, that had some miracles here. There was everybody involved. That there was just minor injuries with the other drivers. So anyways, so it was a big scene. One of the fathers of one of the other, there was two other girls and two other cars. It appears, from what I know, that the one that hit the first car, she was a texting teenager, hit the car in the middle, which hit our Jeep. Apparently, it was a pretty horrific scene as it happened, because there's many witnesses and so forth, because where it happened. And so then one of the fathers actually just picked a fight with me, came at me. It was amazing. They had to call extra police and so forth. You know, this real short guy. I'm 6'4.5", and a weightlifter and so forth, and, you know, big football player. And so anyways, that was another thing, bizarre thing. You know, just so many weird things. But anyways, then so, you know, that takes me a while to really unwind from that. But then I noticed that night that everything, you know, turned off. And that was, I knew right away. Boom, right away. Exactly. I'm like, that's what I was seeing. This is a spiritual event. There's a spirit. I'm seeing a spiritual war going on of some, and it is surrounded with fighting over humans and so forth, and it is right here. And I mean, I was just kicking myself. Why didn't I sit and you know, why was I so afraid? I mean, I was absolutely terrified. You know, not, you know, when you don't want to see something, you know. So I, you know, and, you know, so that took me anyway. You know, I'm forgetting all kinds of details and so forth. And there, you know, some I shouldn't say, but, you know, I was just absolutely, you know, with you're thinking about the illnesses that led up to it and all kinds of amazing, really scary. You know, it's amazing some of the things that were going on, just one after the other, just relentless. And, you know, one of my children really, you know, you know, how I say this, this all made me a Christian. Okay, it's made me see what is really going on. I don't know why that I was that I saw this, but I'm finding out that there's millions of people that are seeing this, and that those are half the people populating our churches, you know, around the world. It's just not on, you know, nobody's talking about it on the mass media as being a real thing. It's just sort of really ignored. I mean, wow, what if all of a sudden it was discussed all over the place that there's millions and millions of people all over seeing things that would indicate that the Bible is dead on the scientific book to describe what reality is actually like. You know, that might change the way a lot of people think all of a sudden. That, oh, this isn't something just for that whack over there that won't give their kid the cancer treatment. You know, the religious wackos in the woods, this is, you know, Fox News reports, won't give their kid cancer treatment because they want to pray it away rather than radiate the cancer away. And, you know, how crazy they are, you know, how different people would be, how different of a picture people would get if the truth was known. And, you know, what some of the churches are like. I mean, we go to a church. Wow, it is, I had no idea. I'm a Nazarene Christian, Nazarene denomination. I had no clue of what that was all about. I'm the drummer. I mean, it's all, you know, I just started going there last year. They needed a drummer. I mean, it was like a big deal. From what the impression I got, that it was a big concern for people, and there I am. You know, just there's a whole bunch of other things too. That's just one. And man, this church it is this is an experiential, you know, we're experiencing the glory of God. There's no, oh, when we're dead, we will. That idea. Nobody even talks about that kind of stuff. Nobody even cares because it's all right here and now. Matthew 3:3. You know, so I mean that is just so unknown. People have no clue what especially in academia. That's where I come from. I was a philosophy professor at a couple different schools. Ended up at University of Michigan Dearborn campus, and you know, I actually quit teaching in 2013, right before. Well, anyway, quit teaching for financial reasons, and it was, you know, if any of them are ever to see this, people I worked with there, you know, they would just have, they would be absolutely, you know, the other professors that I was friends with, they didn't know this side of me. Well, I wasn't, not the Christian, the conspiracy theory side of me, which was pretty intense, you know, as always. And, you know, if they ever saw this, they would think, wow, it's crazy. What is he thinking all these weird things for? But, you know, their academics somehow are tricked into being non-empirical. Empirical perspective, when you develop your model of reality and what sense experience gives you, is that will turn one into a conspiracy. If you do it honestly, you'll turn into a conspiracy theorist. You know, you won't forget the Bush. Everybody's, oh, the votes right now. You know, Michigan primary just yesterday. And, you know, I'm thinking, does anybody remember the Bush Gore 2000? I mean, it's kind of hard to go vote after that. You know, everybody's on the, I mean, the news even let it out. The Illuminati controlled news. So what's the, I mean, wow. They let us see the true picture of the voting and everybody forgot. I mean, that's amazing. That's absolutely amazing. Michael Moore makes a movie on it years later that was pretty big, you know, popular movie, all about it in the first part of it. People still forget. I mean, I didn't forget. I mean, it's hard to go. Anyway, getting off topic here, you know.
No, it's good. I mean, I
But
think you're bringing up a lot of good points. I mean, like for you, what was it like? How did you view Christianity? Because I mean, I understand that your wife was Christian for a while, and you were, you know, just kind of being the good husband, going to church here and there. But really, what were your views as a Buddhist, and you know, being involved in the spirituality that you were? How did you view Christianity?
I thought Christianity was basically a incorrect way of describing a Buddhist reality. I tried to, I was, you know how some people interpret Christianity in a Gnostic sense. Oh, it's all about the light and all this kind of stuff. I mean, it is about light, but you know, we're talking about God is light. God is has his son Jesus. You know, I thought it, you know, I couldn't, one thing that really got me when I became a hardcore conspiracy theorist in 2004-5, writing my book Corporatism, and then later, you know, getting into radio and stuff. Man, I always was just taken of how well Christianity nails the conspiracy reality. When you become a conspiracy theorist, it's kind of to become more empirical and to see more, you know, not deny things and to see what's really going on. And wow, you know, rather than you know, the cultural person is a theoretical person. And being a conspiracy theorist is in a lot of ways breaking that down, which, you know, that rings well with Christians, you know, because culture is satanic in Christian terms. But I forgot what you asked a second ago. Sorry, I'm getting off track.
Oh no, I was just basically saying, like, how was your like view? Like, how did you look at Christianity? I mean, did you look
Oh
at it
yeah,
as just a fable, or I mean, it was a crutch for weak people? I mean, how did you actually look at it? Obviously, when you're
yeah.
in, you know, the Buddhist circles and just the spirituality that you were involved with.
Well, until about 08, I thought it was just something that weak-minded people, you know, who were, you know, sort of pathetic and couldn't, you know, hardly move out of their parents' basement. I'm just being honest. That's what I really thought. That's how distorted my mind was. Being an academic, I was teaching. I was a professor at Western Michigan University. Well, sorry, a lecturer. And yeah, I just, you know, I thought all it was, you know, somebody wrote down the story and it turned into a religion, you know, that kind of stuff. But you know, but I thought it was somebody sort of had like a Buddhist mindset when they wrote it. So I mean, it was, you know, I did not have a good, as far as accuracy, I had no knowledge, and maybe a little bit of bitterness because I was raised Christian in a church that, you know, not good. Big money church. It was a joke. It gave me nothing going to those, week after week, because I went to church a lot as a kid. Then then my wife. Then my wife she found a church she liked when we lived in Indiana when I was doing PhD work at Purdue University in philosophy. And I'm like, okay, I gotta go. She wants me to go to church. I want to go to church. So she takes me to this church, and this place is awesome. Central Presbyterian in Lafayette, right across the bridge from West Lafayette, where Purdue is. And I think the music, the energy, the minister, this place is amazing. It was a really cool church. And so my wife becomes this huge Christian, and she's going to prayer groups and stuff. And then there's me. I'm still the same Buddhist guy, really kind of messed up, if you want to just to be. I mean, I was really in bad. I'll tell about the 1990s a little. But the reason I've had these, like the demonic thing that happened leading up to the car crash, that's happened to me a couple times. I've realized. I'm like, oh, that's what was going on, because you don't often see something, some of the lower level stuff of it manifest, and then maybe. But in 1999 and 98, and when I lived in New Mexico getting my undergrad degree, I had something like a demonic possession that happened to me, just to be honest. Mm-hmm. Some people think it sounds nuts. I got it. I used to. A year ago, I would have said the same thing. And man, it really messed me up. And you know why that happened? Because I was a Buddhist, like I said. I became a Buddhist right out of high school, and just rejected Christianity. And I was sort of depressed and down, and I wanted something to reach to. And I didn't really have any experience or interest in drugs or anything at that time. And later, I developed some interest later. But nothing ever manifested. But at that time, I had no idea even what really drugs were. I went to private schools and so forth. So I reached religion, interestingly. Now I really hit Buddhism hard, Soto Zen Buddhism. And, it gave me some relief, because I got out of high school and there was just nothing. And everybody, major in business, major in computer science. And I just wanted to go and wander and be a philosopher, because everybody said, you can't study philosophy because you'll never get a job. I'm like, okay, well then, I was really sort of just kind of becoming like a wanderer at that time, because that's what I wanted to do. I was a born philosopher, which later I became a philosopher and taught for 13 years and so forth. But at that, it was real down. So then I took on Buddhism. Buddhism opened me up. I became quite spiritual. I was really sensing. I think you can kind of start to sense that there's a designer, a mind, a God, very spectacular. No words. Just that is it. And they made me a because I became a real hardcore atheist, because out of high school, because I was so bitter about what I was just saying. And man, it really softened me up years later, because I really got into Buddhism, and I hit it so hard. And what happened is it opened me up, because Buddhism is so much work, and you can't keep. You're just bound to fail. It's just this crazy amount of work to do the meditations and so forth. You're just doing so much work just for a flash of something, and you're like, oh, it's really kind of the mindset of real hardcore Buddhist work. Not the Zen center where everybody's incense and everything. That's cool, but I'm talking, you're really desperate to you want to find an answer to the pain you feel of this, the emptiness of this existence. There's a lot of that leads one to Buddhism, Christianity too, of course. But so anyways, so that led me really to some kind of this demonic possession event that happened. It really lasted about 2 or 3 years, and man, it was it was in the mind for me. And people can think whatever. I just feel that I should say this, because a lot of people, whenever I talk in these terms, there's just not much people. There's always so many people. Yes, exactly what happened to me, and I know these 14 other people the same. But it really, I went right from this peak in Buddhism this Buddhist work I was doing, to right into that darkness, and it was depression and suicide and just interested in morbid stuff, and sensing there's a dark reality. A lot of people can just right now, if you just sit and think about reality, some people can just sense that there's some kind of unpleasant foulness that's in our fallen world that's lurking around and wants to feast on everybody. I don't know. It just seems like in my personal life, I know this is not an empirical statement, obviously, but I can sense that there's the whole idea that illnesses and so forth might be spiritual issues. No question in my mind. Yeah, if you look carefully at mathematically the way they fall in dates and the way they progress in patterns, people through families and stuff, on and on and on and on. Weird events happen at the same time and so forth. And weird, you gotta go back and think, oh yeah, that was kind of weird. Not stuff you might miss. I mean, it becomes real apparent that our reality we're living in, if you're a Christian, you're going to start really getting a sense of this, that it's really a spiritual war that is going on, not a human war. And we're living right in the middle of it.
Yeah, well, that's the reality. I mean, we are in a spiritual war, and I know that many people that have dabbled or gone deep into the occult or in other religions, all have that common denominator where they kind of get so deep where all of a sudden they get spooked or they see something. I mean, myself personally, before I got saved, I mean, I was hearing voices. I mean, it actually started early on where I'd have this reoccurring dream that even my sister shared. We had the same type of dream that would happen once a year, and when I hear these just hideous voices in this dream. But anyways, it progressed to the point where I started hearing the voices while I was awake. Now, I had dabbled in the occult. I got into tarot cards. I got into the Ouija board, and I wasn't heavily involved with it, but I was opening myself up enough. And I noticed, just like you had mentioned, Jeff, that once I got saved, it was gone. I'd never, ever heard those voices. But there was a time when I thought I was going crazy. I didn't understand what was happening. I'm like, I'm going to have to check myself into a mental institute because I'm hearing voices. And, you read any, scientific paper and they're like, okay, you need mental help. You're kind of crazy. We have to lock you up. So I was getting kind of worried. But after the fact, and when I was talking to people in the church, and there was a lot of people that said I had the same type of thing, whether they had manifestations appear or they seen stuff or, there were spiritual forces working. But I mean, I've literally seen these. I've heard them. I know the reality, and many, many people that are watching, listening will know the reality. Some won't, and they'll be skeptical, and that's fine. But when you start going into the deep, dark, parts of the occult, this is kind of what happens. So it is a spiritual war that we're in, and it's an amazing testimony. God completely radically, changes, transforms your life. You're a baby Christian. I mean, you've been Christian for almost a year, and it's exciting. You're getting into the deep things of God. And you're learning. You're applying, your past. I think you've got a very, very strong testimony. And as well, even just within your circles, I mean, starting off, being a professor and being an atheist, and then getting into Buddhist, spirituality. But even in the books that you've written, I mean, you've got into some very, very dark concepts. I mean, you've got into like dark mind consciousness, and I wouldn't even know all the terms. I mean, maybe you can kind of explain in a nutshell certain things that, you were writing on and becoming an expert in, but now very quickly how you can look at that work now and see how dangerous in the stuff that you were, presenting to people.
Yeah. Well, just like we learn so much in conspiracy theory that everything's the opposite. Now we've got flat Earth. The opposite of what we're taught is actually true. It's so amazing that everybody can be tricked. And I remember when my first year to be conspiracy theorist, I can't believe how everybody's tricked. Well, now I'm just kind of used to it, and that's just how it is. Now we learn that now the flat Earth, people are being just taken by this evidence for the flat Earth. There's different levels, some real strong, some maybe not as strong, but wow, lots of pieces of evidence here and there, things that's how this. And then there's some people coming out with models on how it all works. Lots of big stuff. Whoever the first person was that did that moon experiment, where you find out the moonlight is cools water down. Mm-hmm. Unbelievable. I did a video on that, and well, there was I don't know what let me just tell this real fast. There was an article about these lunatic conspiracy theorists invented this moon experiment. Here's how they're so ridiculous and don't know anything. I read the whole thing, and I responded. I said, okay, here's mine. Here's the one I did with the magnifying glass. and you can see the thermometer readings, and what's wrong with that? Because everything you just criticize isn't in my video. You know what they did? They didn't post it in the comments. They deleted it. Who are these people? It wasn't even that big of an article. It was just some, like quantumphysicstoday.com or something. So I'm like, really? Do we want to know, or do we just want to? Really, what do we all do? I mean, I want to know what's going on. I mean,
Well, I mean, I
I
think it's important with what you're saying, Jeff, when it comes to, the flat earth. I mean, we can move there, right now, because again, you've, specialized in taking everything empirically. And that's why you're so respected by so many people, is you're looking at empirical, scientific experimentation. And, maybe you can talk about a few things that you've kind of looked at. You've done these tests. And indeed, I mean, the earth is not what it seems.
Well, yeah, it's really, I mean, the flat earth for me, the flat earth philosophy, flat earth theory, whatever you want to call it, just it's really added a lot of meaning to my existence. I mean, come on, I run into this, my friend Luke, who he and I are going to kind of start a little radio show called Peace, Love, and Flat Earth. Nothing big scale, just messing around and chatting with each other and blog talk. He's a rounder, so it'll be a round versus flat. It's going to be awesome. But he threw a video at me. Oh, it was like around Christmas, and the year from Christmas. And flat Earth is huge right now, and I'm like, really? I'm like, I just had this feeling that yes, and I wasn't even. That was before all the Christian episodes, went on, and so I started studying this, and then bam, then I become a Christian on the 16th of last year, and it's just really been. I mean, I never thought this is where I'd be, to be honest. No premonitions, nothing. Never thought I'd be a Christian. And I mean, I was just so tricked, but I mean, the Bible's right. I mean, I listened to professor after professor after professor. We always would, how everybody in culture repeats everything everybody says, parrots everybody else. The same thing happens in academia, the same little sayings and mannerisms and everything among professors in physics, philosophy, whatever. And, I've heard so many of them say, well, just Christianity, well, that was, people used to think in terms of myth. But now we have science to tell us everything in Genesis 1 is the opposite, is completely backwards. No, nope. Use your eyes. I mean, that, to become a Christian the way I did, and then see that real clear, I mean, okay, sun dogs, we can see the dome. It looks like there's a dome up there. I've been convinced by sundogs, which we can talk about a bit or whatever. But then just really everything fitting together with there's no curve here. So if there's a dome, no curve, we're in something that's described in Genesis, the first couple books of Genesis and elsewhere in the Bible. And if people only knew. I mean, a lot of people, of course, just they won't. Some people. I mean, I don't know who looks at the information and then decides, oh nope, I'm still a sphere earther. I've never seen someone actually do that. The only people I've seen stay sphere earthers after seeing the information properly and being in depth, understand the flat Earth, science and philosophy and so forth, are people that will just play games and make stuff up and not really accept the information as it is. So I mean, because that's power. That's important. It is strong evidence, and if the world, I mean, I just spent a lot of time thinking, man, if people just knew. I mean, Christians around here, a lot of them won't do what I just said. They will. Yeah, I always kind of wondered when I was a kid that, well, how do I know it's round? Just because somebody went to space. I've heard people say that long ago, like different times in my life, and I've kind of been like, yeah, I mean, how do I know? I've always kind of been skeptical, not in the, Skeptic magazine kind of way. Act like in the classical Greek sense. You really are going to doubt everything until you got enough reason to believe it. That's the only. I remember my wife said she prayed for years for me to become a Christian, hard, intense praying, and she always said to Jesus one thing: you've got to show, he's got to see it or forget it. And I'm just, come on, really? And I never knew she was doing this prayer for years and years. I mean, what a good woman. So, but anyways, yeah, the flat Earth is really just my whole Christian life is really in like the way I pray. Thinking of, God is really right up there. I mean, it's, we're kind of taught, the Big Bang and space is kind of like this infinite sort of thing. Not actually, but, so big it might as well be. And we're all meaningless. And so you got to kind of imagine, something other than the Bible to pray to God. No way. It's not like that.
Yeah.
He's just right there. And we've got it. I mean, and it's all being covered up. I mean, we've got if this conspiracy could break out in the big time, I mean, it could be unbelievable. I spend some time just imagining what if it could do that. So anyway.
Oh yeah, I mean this lie has just been in motion for so long. I mean, deceiving so many people, and when you come to this truth, when you come to this revelation, it's so big. It's hard to put into words how grand of illusion, deception, Satan has done. I mean, and that's just what we're all dealing with here is now, looking at God's true creation. We're looking at the Word of God, and like you said, you brought up Genesis, and right from the very beginning, and I know. Scholars, people, throughout time have had issues with the firmament dividing the waters from the waters. And they've come up with all sorts of theories, whether it's the canopy theory or, but when we understand that there's two major body of waters under the earth and above the firmament, I mean, it's incredibly clear. So when you start actually looking at this, for how the Bible's written, and you understand that the men and the how science got hijacked, and it was actually pretty incredibly intelligent to actually masquerade a belief, a religion, an agenda in something that's scientific or science. And that was what they fed us. They said, no, this is proven. This is science. There's no debate. And yet, I mean, science was all about questions from the beginning. It was about asking questions. It was about empirically testing something, observing, repeating, verifying this data. And yet all of these are just theories. The theory of evolution. I mean, no one's verified this. No one has ever scientifically, done an experiment to, verify it. So, I mean, a lot of your work and we can maybe move into sundogs, because I think it's very, very fascinating when you get into, certain things that we're seeing in the sky, things that we can observe and test, that anyone can, apply these tests right from their very home and conclude, is science telling us the truth? Or the Bible says that this, like we were talking about the moon before, but the Bible's very clear. It talks about the sun being masculine and the moon being feminine, and they both are lights. And when we're finding that the moon is giving off cooling light, it has different properties than the sun. Well, we've been told that the sun reflects off the moon. Something's not right here. So this is real science that we can apply. And again, with a lot of your, work at Zeteticism DotCom, you've done a lot of work, and Mark will always say that you're one of the hardest working in flat earth, but you put in countless hours and you do these experiments, you try to conceive of all these type of models. So maybe you can start with the sundogs, because I know that you've done a lot of work on that, and I find it fascinating. I mean, there's no doubt you cannot create this without something being reflected off something else. So maybe you can elaborate.
Yeah, there's a couple things I wanted to say about evolution. Sundogs kind of give me the same feeling as when I got my undergrad was in philosophy and anthropology, double major, University of New Mexico. So I was an evolutionist studying anthropology. I mean, and I remember after becoming a conspiracy theorist, 2004 or 5, with 9/11, did that the first edition of Loose Change. That I remember, then I went, I'm questioning everything after that. And I remember so many times sitting there just staring at the wall thinking, yes, about evolution, about how I can't believe I sat in there and didn't realize that they're just connecting these loose dots, which can't even connect these. These aren't our ancestors. What on earth would make us think that that's the case? These bones, which are just baboon bones, and it's just why were they all crunched up bones that they pieced together, try to make a skull out of? do you know it's for the same animal? I just spent so much time just so amazed that I didn't think of all this. And then with sundogs, you know, I've you know, seen these things around moon dogs and sundogs. You know, I was a real outdoorsy kid, you know, curious about things. And I remember seeing moon halos with moon. Now, you know, why they got this intricate structure, you know, but you didn't really think anything of it. And then, so yeah, so I'm taking my flat Earth work, you know, last year, and thinking, you know, because then I became a Christian, and you know, one of the first things I started looking at when I became a Christian was Christianity and flat Earth, and boom, wow. And, you know, I'm thinking, okay, because I knew what sundogs were. I'm like, you know, I wonder if, because that sure looks like a spherical optical reflection, you know, because I've seen those before in studying, when I studied some optics when I was a quantum or an astrophysics student at Michigan State. I went there before I transferred to New Mexico to study anthropology and philosophy. But anyways, you know, so then I had this bowl here, real smooth, perfectly spherical glass bowl, you know, just a salad bowl. And so I said, I need something that'll give me a real good, pure bit of light. And I just took a lighter, just put it right up underneath that bowl, and right away, I'm like, are you kidding me? That looks exactly like a sundog. You know, I remember being just blown away by, you know, and then, you know, really studying how that looks, and then taking notes and matching it to intricate ways of, you know, ways that really, this isn't chance. These are the same thing going on. The way that the parhelion rays as the sun ball goes up in the sky, and lower with respect to it as it goes down. I mean, come on. That's the same phenomenon. The lighter in the ball is the same thing as you're seeing in the sky. And that's just one of many correlations like that, or matches, we should say. So then I'm thinking, okay, I gotta put this in some videos and really, I just want to convince myself, just let's really figure this out. Is this what we're seeing here? You know, the whole way the sun appears double sometimes. People call it Nibiru. Well, I hold the position that that's the back of the sun reflecting off the dome. And you can see the same way the lighter moves in the bowl, the sun does inverted. Okay, because you're seeing the sun dome farther away than the salad bowl dome. So you're seeing that one inverted. That's the whole point about sundogs. It's inverted light coming in. So you can have sundogs appearing in the shade. I mean, you can have a sundog looks like, imagine my face is the sun, and there's two sort of other suns over here. It's like there's three suns setting. They do it according to unbelievably spectacular, really, frankly, stunningly beautiful optical patterns. Just people are blown away when they see these. I mean, when I saw them when I was a kid, wow, the whole sky, you know, halo, and all kinds of spectacular pieces to the halo and so forth. And it's clearly a mathematical pattern. But so then, you know, I made some videos trying to show the match of sundog to bowl. And then that was the Zeteticism Volume 2. I made Zeteticism Volume 1 previously, but there's subtle problems in that one specific area. I redid it. It's done now. That could happen again, because, you know, I'm trying to really do this scientifically, zetetically, and so I mean that could happen, because, you know, you're going to make mistakes if you're trying to. Other people are doing this too. It's not just me. I'm not just trying to sound, you know, impressive or something. No, it's what I want to know, and that's, I think, an empirical investigation that's what's going to settle things, and it's, you know, settling for a lot of people. But so anyways, the second video I did on sundogs, which is the Zeteticism Volume 3, that one I think really nails it. Those sundogs are reflections off the dome, because you have a sundog, and you're led to believe the sun is up there. It's all far away. You're not like, you know, right up next to you. It doesn't look like that. But sure enough, these are not. It's a long tube of light coming in. You know, maybe 30 miles long or something. That 30 miles is probably a pretty good max. But anyways, and so you can have pieces of the sundog showing up in the shade. You know, it's back there, and then you've got it still showing up on this side because it's coming in from this way. Or sorry, you know, just depending on how it's oriented. And you have to watch my videos. This is in Volume 3. Go to Zeteticism DotCom, or if you don't want to try to figure out how to spell that, just go to flathead.science, and that'll take you to the same page. And the videos I've made, if you're interested in my work on this, they're there. And it's just really me trying to figure this out. And there's, they're making mistakes. That's the way it's going to go. There's a big project to figure out something like this isn't going to be done. There's a lot of people out there think want to be, oh, I'm the one who made the movement and I'm special. Okay, sure. I mean, everybody's grateful to those who've helped them out, but man, this will not get solved by one person. There's no hero. This is tough to figure all this stuff out. These people fighting over little things that they don't really know what they're talking about. You just got to ignore all that stuff and really do this, and whatever convinces you. And to me, it's empirical scientific findings. And I think it is. I think that is with everybody. That's what really convinces. You can have all the ideas you want. You see something that contradicts it, all the ideas are thrown away. Empirical is how, if you want to know about the world, empirical investigation is how you learn about the world. And that's not done by NASA. 3 people verified it in the space station, so therefore that's science. No, that's not science. Okay, that can be fake. Science can't be fake, because science is what you can see with your eyes, not on a TV screen. Direct world object to eyes. That's science. This isn't me making this up. Go read Rene Descartes, all the inventors of science through the ages up till the present. Philosophers are obsessed, and I'm a former philosophy professor. Philosophers are obsessed with what is science. And man, they've got a lot of really good stuff to say. And that's why I'm an empiricist, because I've read a lot of them. A lot of the empiricists. I took a class called British empiricists. I mean, good stuff. I mean, these guys had but anyways, so the sun
do you actually, bringing up the empirical nature, but do you think that many scientists are following that model anymore? I'm talking mainstream, or do you think that they've all kind of jumped on the bandwagon of just learning from their great men of faith beforehand?
No, it's it's just all, they're just a lot of theory. It's a weird place, the university. I mean, a lot of absurd things happen. I had maybe
explain that. Maybe explain university, like just kind of being a professor, being in those circles. What was it like? But also when it came to spirituality, you can mention that as well.
There's no spirituality does not exist, and that's just, it's not like everybody gets together and decides that. No, it's assumed. When you go to get your job at the warehouse, everybody's kind of the same socioeconomic background. They all know how to act. Right? They just all know what to expect. In the university, you know what to. It's all a joke. Religion is all. We have science now. Okay, that solved it all. That's where we figure it out. Religion is fun to study in your, history of religion class. I mean, that is just so utterly established as a paradigm in academia. I cannot even emphasize to you. And people think it's really true. Really true. And they have no evidence for these claims. Zero. And maybe a lot of anti-evidence that can easily be pointed out that, maybe even in their own lives, they've seen things, but, people dismiss stuff. I did. I saw, everybody's had, things that have happened in their lives. And, you can't, anyways, there's a big picture going on here, and we're allowed to get glimpses of it apparently. But anyways, so the university is, that's a, man, they really create a lot of atheist students there. They're feasted on, I mean, we're in some sort of world that's best described in terms of conspiracy theory. Right? There's the term Illuminati means power behind the throne. That's what it's a real satanic force, as the Bible describes. It is in control of this world. That's the biblical interpretation. It's the Christian idea of what culture really is satanic, and that's the whole point of, you can't know that the Bible is describing the flat Earth under the vault, under the dome, because. Well, if it's not, and if Christianity is completely whacked, and we're in this, the expanding universe, right? That's everybody's verified, huh? you know, I mean, then Christianity is just a joke. But man, when you find out, man, if the world could find out the opposite, whew, you know, there's this big time, a lot of there's a lot of people very taken, stirred by just the beauty of the whole idea of, oh, what I was taught, that stuff wasn't true. And, you know, never really saw any of it. And okay. And something to do with the Bible is right. I mean, there's a lot of people having that experience. I mean, I became a Christian and then had that whole experience, but you know, a lot of people think there might be people becoming Christians because of that. Because hey, you want to know the way the world really is. It's including spiritual issues and so forth. It's in the Bible.
Yeah. Well, I think it's incredible too, because a lot of people
carefully and literally.
Sorry. I was going to say that I think it's important too, because a lot of people that would laugh at the Bible being, you know, just a bunch of stories, now they're seeing the truth in the creation. So they're like, well, if it's true about that, you know, it must be true about so much more that I used to laugh at. So I think it's huge, the awakening that's taking place, but also the validity and the authority of the Bible. You know, throughout time, it has stood the test of time. People have attacked it, you know, they've come against it, but, you know, it's been truth all along. So I think that's the extraordinary thing. And then reading it and understanding there is a spiritual truth. There is, you know, a man named Jesus that claimed to be truth, not just, you know, what he's saying is truthful, but he is truth. I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me, John 14:6. I end all my videos on my channel, Celebrate Truth, with that verse, because that verse is very paramount, because it comes down to Jesus. Who is Jesus? You know, and I love what C.S. Lewis used to say, either he's a lunatic, he's a liar, or he's Lord. That's it. He can't be a good teacher, or he was, you know, can you imagine if you had a professor and, you know, he's a really good guy and stuff, but then he starts claiming to be God and he starts claiming that he can forgive sins and he's going to raise himself from the dead. Well, if he's truly not, then you're going to think, well, I can't call this guy a good professor. I mean, he's nuts. He's crazy, right? But Jesus claimed these things. He did these things. So really, for anyone on this quest for truth, they need to look to the person of Jesus, because all the religions bring Jesus into it some way or another. You know, oh, he's a good prophet, or, you know, he was a good teacher, or he, you know, reached Christ consciousness, and they continually bring Jesus in. But what differentiated is the words in the Bible and what Jesus claimed, and every word will come true because he is truth, and he is the creator. I mean, it's very clear in John, where in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. So when, yeah, like you were talking before about, you know, the words, I mean, we're literally reading the words of Jesus in all the words that we read throughout the Bible. And I think creation is opening a lot of people when they're looking at all the lies that NASA or scientism, or when they wake up to the reality that they have been lied to their whole life, and yet the truth was in the Bible all along. They want to open it. They want to learn about it. And I think, you know, shows like this are so important, you know, because you and I, you know, we got saved. Our eyes were open to this truth. But like you, I mean, there was a time when I laughed at the Bible. I thought it was a joke, or are you kidding me? What a crutch. You know, this, you know, fairy tales for, you know, children. But again, when all of a sudden God changes your life, you just can never go back, and you know the truth. And it's important for people to seek that truth, you know. So yeah, when it comes to creation, it's fantastic. So I just wanted to, you know, mention that, because we were talking about creation, and I think it really helps people to learn that, oh, if it's truthful about my created order, then everything in here I can, you know, look at as truthful, and then yeah, let them go down their journey and get to know their creator, and a God that loves them, and they are special and they are unique. They're not just a random accident, you know, on a spinning ball flying through space. So anyways, but yeah, continue what you were saying, because I think you were saying some really good things there.
Well, I think the point of Christianity is, well, I mean, you know, just if I had to sum it up in just one idea, is the idea that, you know, your own self is, if you put your trust in that, your life's not going to go that well. And what you need to do is if the battle is with the flesh, and you want to surrender the self, to empty yourself and to say, you know, Christ, you know, this reality is crazy. I don't get what's going on. Why don't you just take over my life, and you can do whatever you want with me. I'm going to give this a shot, and, you know, see if it's if it works. And, you know, I mean, that right there, I had no idea what that would do. When I started doing it automatically. The reason I knew to do that is because my family was such, I went through the motions Christian. How weird. I mean, my kids are, really interested in church. My wife, very religious. Man, she became so much more awesome in that phase. I remember when she got so religious. I mean, but my kids listen to Christian music, Hillsong, Jesus Culture, and so forth. And they always want me to put their music on when I'm taking them to school and stuff. So I had all this stuff about surrender. I mean, what are the chances? I mean, these are authentic. I know some people out there said there was somebody that, Hillsong. Okay. If there's a band that's telling somebody like me, who's not a Christian, that if you want to have real joy, just lose yourself and invite him in and really give yourself to him. And wow, you watch what happens. I mean, I had all that going through my mind listening to some of these bands. Vertical Church Band, there's another one. Ooh, good music too. I mean, I was excited to take him to school because I'm like, that music is so awesome. Those lyrics really got in my mind. I'm like, these people are not messing around that are singing these songs. They are hardcore religious. I admire that because I was the Buddhist. I was real hardcore, just really thinking the religious life is the hardcore monkish life is surrendering everything to religion. I've always had in my mind that that's the good life, the right way to go. But of course, I went down the wrong path, which is unfortunately incorrect. And so anyway, yeah, that's what Christianity is to me. And man, like I said, if I only knew, I wish I knew that, because I was really looking for joy back in my earlier day, when I was just out of high school and I was depressed. And so, like I said, because, hey, we're out of high school and now you have to go study computer science. Okay. I mean, that really wounded me. That's my reality now. And now I'm on my own and I've got to work at, where did I work at? Wendy's, a fast food joint. I'm like, this is terrible. I just became so down. And if I only knew that would really for that, the real peace where you really, okay, that's it. I know that's it. What I feel, what's listening to me, I can see is listening to me because my world is doing all these arrangements that, I'm looking carefully. That's too much of a coincidence that I just was praying about that so intensely, I mean, that happening all the time. And then, so that, that, and then to be honest, when I first became a Christian, I really was praying for, to just really have something make sense about this whole, my place in the world, and really Christian music. And then Flat Earth is what did it. Just realizing that, man, you've just been delivered into you. I mean, you're, the whole born again idea is not, there's no joke. I mean, you really are, there's a death and there's a new person. I mean, people changed. I mean, all of a sudden overnight when I became a Christian, all my taste in music changed. It was I said, really, I had no desire. All I wanted to listen to was the Christian music my kids listened to. I was going up and taking music out of their rooms and stuff. I want to hear more of that. What are they saying? I had a lot of that going on. I had really no idea what Christianity really was. I knew some of the history lessons and stuff, and could talk about how Jesus is light and how that's neat and everything. But the idea of surrender, being we're broken, and that's good. We're fallen, and that's actually in the pit of your fallenness, that is where He awaits in the He. When you have faith. Faith is a kind of interaction. It's not. I mean, when you're believing, you're not just like, oh, I believe there's something up there. No, you're believing right now that when you pray, you know that you're talking to who you're talking to. That's what faith is. And it's an experience of, and when you're in that state, I think there's a song in there's a lyric in Jesus Culture, one of my favorite bands. So just the thought of you can, I forgot how it slips in my mind. Just the thought of you can send my whole heart to tears, or something like that. And I'm like, that, that I never knew that kind of stuff happened. When you're really, knowing what you're doing with, that what the Bible is saying was correct. Jesus is the one. You want to know what's behind all this?
Mm-hmm.
It's written there. I mean, so it's just, it's you just wonder what this people are really taken by this. The hope is that you can really Christianize the world in an authentic way. People, man, I've seen people really beef up their pre-existing Christians, really beef up. Oh, okay, we're not messing around here. This is really true, and you're really taking things seriously. Because when you do Christianity, to do it right, you're really all in. My wife and I were just talking about this.
Yeah.
Well, she's much more experienced Christian than me. I mean, but you really only can do it. You get a taste of it, and okay, everything I thought I cared about, I don't care about anymore. This is real. It's right there. You're just like my pastor said last week when you pray, you just talking to God. It's real simple. He's listening. You just talk, and he hears. There's nothing complicated. Like, where is he? You can do that. Like I was saying, there's nothing complicated. It's just, people know that there's something behind all this.
Mm-hmm.
Something. There's some kind of point to this, and that's where, build your faith from there. If you've never thought about praying or something before, and you'll start to quickly understand that there's something will respond to you if you have the right religious perspective. Then that it's Jesus who you're supposed to be praying to. So.
Yeah. I mean, that's important, and I think you brought that point up, and it was perfect. But again, it's surrender, and I mean, you heard that in that worship song. But like I said, believing in something is not enough. I mean, it talks about in the Bible that the demons believe in God and tremble. Who cares, right? So I used to tell people all the time, it doesn't matter what you believe. It matters, number one, what's truth. Again, for the longest time, I was like, I don't want to just believe in something. I want to make sure what I'm believing is truth. That was important. But also the whole idea of surrender, that's where it really gets difficult, because most people are fine with a higher power or a creator, as long as I don't have to be accountable, as long as, my creator would never do this, or my creator, we make God into our own image. I mean, we literally break the commandments all the time, but it says, don't make it God into your own image. And we do that constantly. And again, it's about surrendering. It's about kind of laying down your life and saying, take it, I'm done. I give you my entire life. And again, with what you said, that is, how I've conveyed it to anybody, is really, you can believe whatever you want, but until you surrender, until you lay your life down and say, that's it, take over. I only want your will, Lord, not my own. I'm done. I've tried life my own way. I tried seeking it in sex, drugs, rock and roll, fame, money, whatever. Again, I tried it my way. So now I want to do it your way. And I mean, Jesus said, whoever loves me will do what I say. Also, the other great, amazing quote that Jesus says is, there is no in between here. It's either you love me or you don't. But it basically talks about, you're all in, like you said. You don't do Christianity, well, I'm going to try this for a little bit. It's literally laying your life down. It's making God your King, your Lord. It's making Jesus your number one. And anybody that got to know you for a couple of hours would clearly be able to say, I know who's number one in that person's life just by the words that they speak. That's kind of, the fruit of our life. And over time, as you continue to grow in your walk, you're going to come to maturity, you'll continually mature, you'll learn new things. I mean, I look back even 5 years ago and how much I've learned now from then, but I look back to even when I got saved when I was 21 years old. And I mean, I was passionate, I was excited, and it was awesome. But I look back and there were a lot of things that I'm just like, oh, wow, I can't believe, how much I've learned since then. So it's really exciting, to walk with God and just have him lead you in all ways. And, anybody that's, curious or looking into this, really, that's all you have to address, because there's so many beliefs around the world. I mean, there's New Age and Buddhism and Islam and Judaism. Again, the key person here is Jesus. Either he is who he said he was or he's not. There is no in between. So at least, make sure that you're sure that you believe he's a liar, or you don't believe that he's the Son of God, before you continue, your life, because it's a very important thing. I mean, if he truly is Lord, and, he is coming back again, and he raised himself from the dead, and all the things that he claimed are true, reading and following him will change your life. And that's what he wants. I mean, he loves you and you are special. And that's what this show is about. I mean, obviously it's flat earth in the Bible, but again, we're talking about God's truth revealed in scripture. And that's what's important. And really it comes down to Jesus being the way, the truth, and the life. So yeah, no, Jeff, it's exciting, you know, to hear how you're even listen to worship music. Your kids are putting stuff on, and all of a sudden you're starting to hear these concepts, and God was already working with you. Obviously, your entire life was all part of God's plan. You know, everything from being a professor and then into Buddhism, and then just even with the kids and all the things that happened leading up to, you know, when you got saved. So it's an exciting story, and you must be so excited to, like, for the next 5 years, next 10 years. I mean, what does God have in store for you? I mean, he's obviously equipping you. You know, you're getting into the Bible and you're learning, you know, the real essentials to prepare you for something. And I think that you've been definitely called for something really huge, especially with your background, especially with your education. And it's exciting to, you know, continually to see God work with you, and even with this revelation of the earth. I mean, you know, I'm sure you never ever thought you would be in the position you're in. I mean, not only being Christian, but also now questioning everything you ever believed before. And I'm not talking just the spirituality. I'm talking about science, because I'm sure when you were a professor, you believed all this science, as far as evolution and the heliocentric Big Bang universe. I mean, did you ever question that, or did you just kind of go with all your peers?
Well, I was a questioner when I was an academic, but you're sort of taught that, you know, you go so far back and question, then it all kind of turns into theory, you know. But that's okay because we know so much already. You know, for example, with the Big Bang, you know, we can kind of see how that's a model with the way the universe, well, what we say is a Big Bang universe exists. But, you know, you try to look back into it to get to that singularity point, you know, the Big Bang event. You know, it's just all wildly theoretical at that point. But people just kind of accept all that. And, you know, you don't really know there's another side. You think this, well, you know, I mean, I didn't even really know what conspiracy theory was until after I had seen Loose Change. And then I learned later, oh, there's this term conspiracy theorist. That's what I guess I am now. I mean, I hit conspiracy theory real hard. That was one of the, that's, you know, that's behind largely ending my career as a career. It makes it, I mean, just when I was a teacher, I was a philosophy professor. And, you know, because that was my dream. I always wanted to do that. But then after I became a conspiracy theorist, really by 06, that was over. Because, you know, I mean, there really is this other reality. You know, government's not as we think. Elections are not as we think. And this isn't just, you know, oh, because I'm mad at the government, you know, I want to say they're bad or something. No, this is medical stuff. I mean, the Pentagon on 9/11, there was no plane. You know, we can go through all the details. There's no plane there. Okay, and all the media goes along with it and everything. You know, what's going on? You know, I spent a lot of years thinking in those terms, and you know, now I'm doing the same thing with flat Earth, thinking, you know, but this is sort of exciting. You know, like, ooh, this is that was a scary conspiracy movement, 9/11, because that really got a lot of people became conspiracy theorists in those years, 04, 06, 07. You know, it was awesome, really. It was communities forming, and then, you know, everybody started fighting and going crazy, and who knows what happened later. But flat Earth now is like the opposite direction. It's wow, you know, this is you know, this is spiritual. Is what this is. This is really learning who we are here, and that is so amazing. You know, I mean, when I became a Christian because, you know, I saw some stuff. You know, like I said, you know, I still, you know, I'm getting used to that whole idea. You know, and then you know, the crash happens and it ends. And why did it turn out? And clearly, you know, the way the crash happened, there were so many correlations with what I was seeing. You know, so in that, but you know, really, the flat Earth is. I just can't believe it's been. It really is a very big danger, I would think, to Illuminati culture, wouldn't you? I mean, I spent a lot of time wondering about this. Why is it? I mean, you know, I'm seeing, you see weird things with YouTube statistics and blah, 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 but I'm going further. I mean, it really, because the model I've created, the Zeteticism gyroscope, I would view as the first one that's really addressing some of the big things. What are southern star trails? How do you, I mean, really, how do you explain that? Don't mess around with a bunch of theories and stuff. Show me empirically, how does it work? In my model, it seems to check out. I mean, I spent a lot, because I don't want to just, oh, I invented a theory, aren't I cool, and get fame? No, I really want to know. And I spent a lot of time really, you know, is my model, you know, really, come on. And, you know, it's I don't know. It seems to be pointing in the right direction. You know, we're in a gyroscope. And let me talk about something to do with a biblical issue with that. You know, it's spinning around. Like, imagine a, you know, we're just spinning around, and on the axis of, you know, there's the turn axis, and then the one perpendicular to it. That's where an Earth plane exists. And this is the model. I mean, this is just my model. Other people may come out with theirs. Great. We'll see in time which one is right. I have no ego in this. I just want to hopefully I'm on the right track, so I can know is really what I care about. So, you know, and then the centrifugal force of that creates gravitation. You know, the experience of gravitation is just things falling, you know, downward. You know, there's a lot of ideas of gravity out in space. It does, you know, it all doesn't really work. That's why they have to invent things like dark matter and stuff, you know, whatever. You know, theoretical concept of dark matter, because gravity doesn't work. It's just falling down. That's what it is. You know, that density, a lot of people have been emailing me, no, Jeff, you're wrong. It's density. Fine. Let's get the proof, because I do have a question about the density theory, that gravity is buoyancy. I love that theory. When I first saw that, I was, oh, this is awesome. You know, but then I thought about it just for not very long. Wait a minute. Why is there a differential of the heavier air on the bottom? And it gets, you know, I guess it does seem to get lighter. You go up on a mountain, you can't breathe as well. You seem to be able to verify it is getting lighter, less dense, that is more diffuse. What's doing that? Something seems like something's pushing down or something. I mean, there's some reason it's like that. You could say God just structured it that way, sure, but you know, I'm kind of wanting to go empirical on this personal preference, and you know, so I've had a couple people tell me they don't like the model because the Earth is supposed to be still. And I think this is the only real, I mean, the model's new, and I've had to change it around to delete videos because of mistakes and corrections, and that'll happen more. It's a new model, and it's the first one. Other people are going to come out with them too that really answer it the hardcore way, I think. But the only real objection I've heard since it's new, and there'll be more, but that's real, is when people say, well, Jeff, it's moving. The Earth is moving. It's supposed to be still, you know, Psalms 104:5. You know, all these other verses. Got it. And if that's true, this model's wrong. Let's get that right out in the open. But to my knowledge, people are referring to stillness as being like a point in space. And it can't, you know, the Earth cannot move from that point in space. Is that what the Bible's saying? Because when I read it, it's saying it's fixed in its foundation. You know, there's a lot of verses that say it doesn't move, and that's it. Well, it's not, okay, that sounds like the fixed in space. But then there's a lot of them that say it doesn't move in its foundations. So, okay, so are we going to ignore the foundations verse when we talk about the it doesn't move only verse? No, I still remember the foundations. I'm thinking, are those verses talking about it's fixed in place? You know, it can move around with an earthquake, but it's not going to move. It's fixed in its foundations. I'm not trying to change. You know, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Great, because I definitely want to know what the Bible's saying. But, and I put a video up on this, and it was kind of like completely saying, can anybody help? Am I wrong here? Is really this? It's called, you know, the Bible and Zeteticism Gyroscope Model for Flat Earth, Volume 1. You know, about this issue, and it's kind of like a plea. So somebody help me figure this out, and don't come at me and attack and say you're bad because you've got motion in your model. I'm saying if motion is the fixed point in space, it can't move in space-time, then I'm tossing the model, if that's what the Bible's saying. Okay, and it's wrong. We'll start over or something. Yeah. But I think it's not saying that. So if so, I mean, this is an empirical model that you can verify. This is important because remember when the guys were going around in space in the 60s and saying, see here, we're showing you the Earth is a ball. You know, we don't need to talk about being flat anymore. We've got proof. You know, proof for NASA is, and, you know, 3 people see it. So it's the whole world's supposed to believe, and that we call that science, not science. That is a television monitor. Okay. Anyway, we talked about that, but, you know, so the dream always is to be able to, can we just prove what it is, ball or plane, just from the sidewalk? just what can I see something that'll just say, oh, that leads to this, and okay, the whole thing must be flat, and that's a dome. That's what I think sundogs do. And that's this just to try to explain it briefly. Sundogs, you can go through my videos, and it looks like the sundogs are a picture of the dome. The back of the sun's reflecting off the dome, and man, they're up there all the time. Especially, you're going to see them a lot in foggy places, misty places with a lot of chemtrails, because they're reflecting. It's converging light coming in, reflecting off stuff in the atmosphere that's reflective.
What about rainbows? What about rainbows, Jeff? Like in any of your research, what have you found as far as rainbows? Because I know a lot of people are looking into rainbows and why they're arched the way they are. And I don't know, do you have anything to add with rainbows?
No, I don't. I've seen some interesting videos on that. But I have not done no research, and I know there's some people really fighting about that. So I don't know if I want to dip into that stream at all right now, to be honest. But I really haven't done the research to give anything.
No, that's fine. Yeah, I was just curious if you had done anything else.
Well, just real quick, just to give an idea what we're talking about here. So, sundogs tell us the dome is a sphere, and it has to be spherical. And then also we have to be inside of it. We have to be below its equatorial line. It's easy to deduce all this stuff by the way sundogs are, and other reasons as well. Then if you start spinning it, it creates an effect just like gravitation. So it would have to be sort of like this shape, a bowed shape. So I just call that flat. Some people have come to me and say, "Hey, is it bowed or flat?" I'm like, I just mean the same word, flat bowed. That looks more flat to me than anything, and that's just the model I've created involves that. And so, but anyway, so you spin. How do we know it's spinning though? Star trails. They're on two sides of the sky, so to speak. And then that's if we're inside of some sort of see-through, the sky is a see-through dome, and I don't know if that's the one the sun's reflecting off of or not. Because I think there's a number of layers here, and if the stars are stationary with respect to us spinning, not saying they're stationary, but with respect to us they would be. Like that's another layer inside. Gyroscopes have layers. I don't know. You look in the heavenly bodies, Saturn and the moon, they're all moving like gyroscopes. Whoever made this joint's really interested in gyroscopes. Everything's a gyroscope all over the place out in the heavens. The non-fallen, we're in the world, we're fallen here, but you look up, to my knowledge, unfallen. Those are heavens. Okay, read, oh man, Psalm 8:3. Read it the other day, was just thinking, whoa, the Lord ordained the sun and moon. Ordained. Okay, those are minds. Okay, they're not, those are some kinds of, in the past, the Greeks and others would say, the planets and stuff, those things are actually spirits or something. Here in space, they're not exact. It says in Psalm 104, the sun knows things. Knows things about the moon. So, it's anyways, the point. So then if the gyroscope is spinning, it's going to create something that looks exactly like the star trails. If you have the Earth plane such where it looks just like the azimuthal map, but you have Australia and South America pointed more inward towards each other, and you move the whole Earth, the center, from somewhere between Canada and Russia, whatever, down to like in the Sahara, or maybe around Jerusalem. And then you put that on this, orient it right, in the right direction, you're going to see exactly what we see with star trails. One is going to appear high in the sky, and another is going to appear down low. And there's going to be a lot of uncharted ocean also below Africa, it would appear. People are always talking about a continent hidden. That's, that may be a place to look. Time will tell if this model was right, then you'd want to look for that. But anyway, that's how it works. And it's supposed to be an empirical model you can verify from the sidewalk, and I'm just skimming through it. And it's what about
for people that are looking at this and they're just kind of asking questions, and rather than getting into all the models that people are kind of looking into, what would you say are the most convincing proofs that we are on a spinning ball flying through space? I mean, what was it for you, or what do you think is really compelling that people should look towards finding out the truth in, that really, that's one thing we agree on. I mean, we're all working on different models, but what we do agree on is we've been lied to about, that we're on a spherical globe, spinning at 1,000 miles at the equator, flying through space. So, maybe just really quickly, maybe the top three ones that you would say are very convincing to you that, I mean, you might not know what it is, but you know what it's not.
Well, when I saw that Chicago skyline, because I'm from Michigan, that's where I'm sitting right now. I've been in Michigan my whole life except for a few years. I was a beach guy, and I've seen the Sears Tower, the top of it, from places like Benton Harbor, and I'm thinking, why on earth did I never put this together? You can't see that thing that's far away across the whole lake, and you're not supposed to see it. People always say, "Oh, you can't see across." There it is. Because Benton Harbor is across the big, thick part of Lake Michigan, So and also you don't see the whole building; you see just the tip. I'm thinking, I know what that is. That is light distortion. Light is doing something. Because I was an astrophysics student at Michigan State. We saw this all the time. Light coming. You got to adjust your telescope into a different place in the sky that you see it at. You got to go up a little bit because light's bending around. I'm like, I know exactly what that is. And so that was the point of making Zeteticism Volume 1, my first video, which is, I'm still thinking about that. There's a lot in there. I'm wondering if there's a mistake somewhere. Somebody pointed out a good objection about my Solar argument, which I'm dealing with right now. Interesting. But anyway, it's a lot of work to try to do this empirically. More people, I think, need to be doing this work empirically. I mean, I'm one guy. I mean, you can talk about point out my mistakes. I don't care. Because I'm not expecting to solve this whole thing, So I mean, this is really, we figure this out and we figure out who we really are. That's what's at stake here. We've all wanted to know that our whole lives. Who are you really? Where do you really come from? You're told all this and that. Why do you have a mind and all these feelings? Flat Earth tells us clear as day. It's Christianity, and it's been covered up. Boom, the Bible nails it, because the world, 2 Corinthians 4:4, the God of this, I forgot the exact pronunciation, Satan is the God of this world, and what does he do? One thing, deceives. Everything's deception. 1984. I mean, come on. That's I'm obviously pretty convinced of Christianity now, but it's just, it is the one religion that describes the political climate. Matthew 7:15. There's those who come along look like gentle lambs, and they're gnashing wolves in sheep's clothing. That's all these presidential candidates. Everybody's all excited. If you watch the last number of elections, they say all this stuff, and everybody, waving. Ooh, it's going to change. Same junk. Nothing happened. More. Ugh. And then we've got the election issues, and so everybody's here and excited in Michigan to vote. Just you feel like you feel alone sometimes. Does anybody else think of this? Seeing, just using your eyes, empiric. Use your eyes, and man, right there, clear as day, you can see the truth of your spiritual existence. I mean, we're really fortunate. The internet gave us all this. We can all talk to each other and for free. I mean, amazing. I mean, this is really, the world's never had this before.
No, that's true. That's true. Yeah. I mean, for me, the horizon always staying at eye level, no matter how high you get in altitude. Like I said, I mean, you just can do this simulation and AutoCAD, or, you just look at spherical geometry. But I mean, based on being on a ball at 25,000 miles in circumference, I mean, as you lifted up and you gained altitude, your horizon line is going to drop. And what we're seeing, I mean, no matter if you're on a beach or you get on a mountain or you get in an air balloon or you get up into an airplane or even a, hot air, a balloon or a weather balloon, you're seeing the horizon always stay at eye level, right? So I think that's, really, really strong. I mean, there's lots, that's why I wanted to bring it up, because I'm sure there's a lot of people that are going to be, watching this. And they're just like, come on, what kind of proof do you have? You're talking about, you don't believe in NASA, or you don't, believe in what they're talking about. But like you said, being empirical about it, using your eyes, using the senses that God gave you, start putting these things together and ask yourself, like Jeff had mentioned at the beginning of the program, why do I believe it's a ball? Is it because I was told, or is it because I've actually proven that? So, and that's what we're finding all over. I mean, when it comes to this deception, And yeah, they've got us to a point where, they've masqueraded it in science. And unfortunately, science is not science anymore. I mean, as Jeff explained, very clearly that, there's true science and then there's scientism. I mean, you'll hear scientism, being thrown around there, but really it's a religion, it's an agenda, it's a belief system, yet they masquerade it and say it's fact. There's no debating. This is reality. Unfortunately, read the Bible, look at the world with your own eyes, your own senses. You can come at this so many different ways. I mean, you can come at this scripturally, look at what the Bible says very clearly, from a conspiratorial point of view, like you'd mentioned, kind of looking at where all the dots, connecting all the dots. Look at all the stuff that they're hiding. And why is it, in 2016, we don't have any HD video footage of the Earth spinning from space? It doesn't exist. I mean, that just doesn't even make sense, given it's 2016 and we don't have these. Why is it that, there's only 2 verified photos of the Earth, one in 72 and one in 2015, and yet they've completely debunked those. I mean, they got sex written in the clouds if you turn, the image upside down. So these are the type of things to look into. Some people watching this might think these guys are crazy. I mean, do they actually believe the Earth is flat? What we believe is that we've been lied to, that there's an agenda, just like the lies of evolution. The cosmology that you've been taught, even from, grade school, it's lies. It's theories. I'll put it that way. I'll say at this point, it's not fact. It's not scientifically proven. It's theories. And you would agree, wouldn't you, Jeff?
Yeah, it's amazing to me how I could go so far into academia and, be fooled. And there's a lot of really, the smart people supposedly fooled, and it's not easy. It's not, I mean, you can show this, you can point to things there, that's why, and this, put it all together, and that people will uphold these beliefs and it is science that, man, it's really, I mean, more and more I just think that I wonder how does science go this way rather than that? How do you have one agenda set hold rather than another? And I see things, I saw things when I was teaching. Oh, well, grants get selected this way. All the science professors just battling for grants. I knew guys that would down at Purdue would have to they would literally go get a hotel room in their city, and because they had kids, they were my age, had kids and so forth, and would just go stay for a week and a half while they're writing their. I'm like, what are you doing? Why you're staying in a hotel for a week and a half because you are too busy? You don't want to be around your family because you're too busy. Oh, you're writing your grant to try to get your $2 million for your lab, which studies nuclear weapons or something. That's how it all works, and it's, that it all works the way it does so intricately is just, we're specifically taught from our earliest age the exact reality, the way reality is not. And down to it's very simple. If you clear that away and empirically look at the world, it's like what the Bible describes, being that there is some sort of satanic energy, entities of something, whatever the Bible is describing as being the Satan and his legion is controlling this culture, the world culture. And it's real easy to pick out, and you have, you can really see it very clearly when you're a Christian too. So, and it's, yeah, anyway.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I mean, being born again, you get new eyes. It says you literally become a new creation. So, you get the ears to hear, you get the eyes to see, and God allows you to be able to see certain truth that you couldn't before. I mean, you were blinded. I mean, you were walking in the ways of the fallen one, and you were, yourself personally. I mean, you were an atheist, and then you were in Buddhism, and everything, the Bible and Jesus. I mean, you were completely, against. Within your spirit. So again, you just can't see the true things of God. So it's remarkable that, it must be exciting for you to wake up each day and just the new things that God's showing you and the things that you're studying. And it's really exciting. I mean, it's been a real pleasure having you on, with me. This is Flat Earth and the Bible. It's episode 2. I'm your host, Robbie Davidson. And my guest tonight was Jeffrey Grupp, or go by Jeff Grupp. And maybe you can just in closing, you can talk to people, tell people where they can find you, more where they can find your work, and maybe get in contact with you.
Yeah, just go to Zeteticism.com or flathead.science or peaceloveandflatearth.com. Those all just get to my website, and there's my email there. It's zeteticism.com@gmail.com. And I try, there's so many people emailing me, and I'm really busy. I run a business and dad and the whole deal. And I'm trying to get back to emails, but please email me. And I try to get back to them all. And there's so many people out there really thinking this through. And some of those people out there don't hold ideas back. There's some of the more careful thinkers out there, not on YouTube. They're emailing me. It's some guy from Oregon or something, for example. And that's what's real fun to work with, at that level where people, it's just really a pursuit of trying to find out who you are is what is ultimately behind all of this. And so yeah, anyway.
That's awesome. Well, like I said, I mean, it's been a real pleasure. Thanks for coming on, kind of and sharing your story, your testimony. And now that after all these years of, rejecting the Bible, looking at it as it was fairy tales, I mean, God literally has transformed your life, and you're looking at this as the truth. And each day you're getting to know Jesus more, and learning about the Creator's desire for your life. Even just like, you were talking before about, your wife, but there's definitely massive power in prayer. And I mean, your wife was praying for you. I'm sure there were a lot of people, even at the church, praying for you. Because I know in my life, I mean, I've definitely seen the power of prayer. And when people intercede on your behalf, because you don't really even understand what's going on, but these people that are praying for you, God definitely answers, and He's answered with you, Jeff. And it's exciting to, call you a brother, getting to know you over the last few months. It's been awesome. And I look forward to continuing on, learning, keeping each other accountable, and just encouraging each other as we continue this path of truth, and just drawing closer to God each day. So thank you very much, Jeff. It's been a real pleasure.
Thank you.
Everyone have a good night, and we will see you next week, Wednesday, for Flat Earth in the Bible, episode 3. So thanks, everyone. Blessings.
To a hotel, and it was there's a lot of people in this world that have seen, sort of biblical religious entities, beings and so forth. It's made them Christians. A lot of people through Ouija board experimentation and so forth. We live in a reality where we're told that all this is nonsense, but that has to be proven that it's nonsense, because I think most of us deep down sense that there's been times in our life where we've seen things. So it's normal to be having experiences like this. We're just amazingly taught to poo-poo them as if they're not significant. I mean, people can have very significant things happen to them and sort of just poo-poo them. So, and then think maybe back later in life, wow, that, I have maybe had some spiritual experiences or something, or interventions of, with, God or something. And, people can just pass over that because they're taught that, oh, it's just coincidence or their imagination or something. So anyways, so this all escalates, and really was a terrible time. It was an amazing time. And then so my wife, she calls me one day. I'm working, and she calls. And I just knew it. I knew that it was the day before it. She called me, and I'm like, are you in an accident? I said, because she knew I was thinking about this and I was talking about this. She said, no, I'm not. This is on the 15th, tax day last year. I'm like, okay. And then the next, she's calling me on the way to pick up the girls from the kids from school. We have a private school that our kids go to near our house. And, I just knew, I knew no way to be heard. Everybody would be okay. So I was calm about it. I was like, okay, it's now the time. It was amazing. So, and then the next day she calls, going to pick up the girls. And I said, I sensed, and I'm like, you in an accident? And no. And then this is the day of. And I'm like, okay. And then she calls back, 5 minutes, no, about 10 minutes later. And I'm like, I got up from my seat, picked up the phone, was up the stairs. I knew that was it. And, I mean, again, it's a wild story for, people to hear this, but I think this stuff kind of goes on all the time. If people, you know, you got to turn off the TV or something because it's easy to forget this stuff. Significant things can happen, and it can pass right right by you because you're too busy or something. And they could have a lot of meaning if you understand what they are. But anyways, you know, day-to-day events are like that. So, but anyways, so yeah, then so they're in this really horrific crash on a highway right near where the kids' school is, and you know, so I'm, you know, person. That's just what I think. Whatever Logos is, this, you know, the mighty wind of God. You know, the mighty mind of God creating everything. You know, we're seeing numerologies. If you want to understand what it's about, numerology is the mathematics. The mathematics of meaning is what it is. And you know, these illnesses were correlated with that very heavily. You know, because I'm always paying attention to specific days and of the month and so forth, and you know, you can anticipate certain sorts of if there's going to be times where it's harder to take care of your children, people aren't feeling as happy, and you know, kids are fighting and so forth. You know, you can anticipate things like that coming to prepare, really, you know, for extra prayer time and so forth. But anyway, so the illnesses were very scary, and I started having dreams about my wife getting in a car crash. And we had drove a Jeep. Uh, so, and I understand a lot of people won't believe this story, and I'm okay with, that's fine. I'm not trying to prove anything to anybody here. This is just I can't deny what happens, and I just want to tell about it. So, and so yeah, it was the back corner of the Jeep Commander that, you know, she drives our 4 kids around in, and you know, they were pretty vivid, a couple of them, and even one of them turned even into a sort of like, you know, when you're having a real intense daydream. I remember one time, you know, shortly before it happened, and you know, I was telling my wife, you know, something, I think you're gonna get in a car crash. And I even started getting scared. I was even doing weird things like clamping down, making sure the stroller and the Jeep's clamped down right, and making, you know, what's the safest route, because she goes through the country, and I really did. I researched. I actually went on the computer and researched the road, and found out, as I suspected, it was all kinds of people had died on that road, including someone who lived in this house in the 1940s. Interesting. You know, there's all kinds of amazing things, you know, going on that people that just open their eyes would see. You know, you just got to think about what's going on in your life, and not believe this idea that it's all just chance. You might be surprised, but anyway, and now all the while this is happening, you know, these I'm sort of having sort of biblical types of things that I'm seeing, and they are really scaring me. I mean, very, it felt, you know, I saw it as real, and I didn't know what was going on. It was, you know, it was interrupting my day. And you know, I had trouble working. You know, that's it's a big deal. I'm supporting wife and 4 kids here, running a business, and so then you know, it's really just out of control. There was a trip I went on for business. Not, you know, when you don't want to see somebody, you know. So and you know, so that took me anyway. You know, I'm forgetting all kinds of details and so forth. Then there, you know, some I shouldn't say, but you know, I was just absolutely, you know, with you're thinking about the illnesses that led up to it, and all kinds of amazing, really scary. You know, it's amazing some of the things that were going on, just one after the other, just relentless. And you know, one of my children really, you know, you know, how I say this, this all made me a Christian. Okay, it's made me see what is really going on. I don't know why that I was allowed that I saw this, but I'm finding out that there's millions of people that are seeing this, and those are half the people populating our churches, you know, around the world. It's just not on, you know, nobody's talking about it on the mass media as being a real thing. It's just sort of really ignored. I mean, wow, what if all of a sudden it was discussed all over the place, that there's millions and millions of people all over seeing things that would indicate that the Bible is dead on the scientific book to describe what reality is actually like. You know, that might change the way a lot of people think all of a sudden. That, oh, this isn't something just for that whack over there that won't give their kid the cancer treatment. You know, the religious wackos in the woods, this is, you know, Fox News reports, won't give their kid cancer treatment because they want to pray it away rather than radiate the cancer away. And, you know, how crazy they are, you know, how different people would be, how different of a picture people would get if the truth was known. And, you know, what some of the churches are like. I mean, we go to a church. Wow, it is. I had no idea. I'm a Nazarene Christian, Nazarene denomination. I had no clue of what that was all about. I'm the drummer. I mean, it's all, you know, I just started going there last year. They needed a drummer. I mean, it was like a big deal. From what the impression I got, that it was a big concern for people, and there I am. You know, just there's a whole bunch of other things too. That's just one. And man, this church is this is an experiential, you know, we're experiencing the glory of God. There's no, oh, when we're dead, we will. That idea. Nobody even talks about that kind of stuff. Nobody even cares because it's all right here and now. Matthew 3:3. You know, so I mean that is just so unknown. People have no clue what especially in academia. That's where I come from. I was a philosophy professor at a couple different schools. Ended up at University of Michigan Dearborn campus, and you know, I actually quit teaching in 2013. I you know, I know nobody's hurt, but I'm scared. So, you know, I'm driving down there fast, and I get there, and it's a wild scene. You know, it's your car's smashed. You know, our Jeep is trashed in that same right in that corner, the only corner where nobody was sitting. You know, I've got 4 kids, and that's a 3-row vehicle. That was the only spot in that back corner nobody's sitting, and there's a bunch of significances to that whole thing, and I mean, I don't want to say too much because people will start to say, okay, oh, what's next now? You know, but it was all mathematically somehow designed in some ways by who knows exactly. Just the way the universe works is not by, there's a different set of laws that rule events, and it's, you know, discoverable through the mathematics of numerology. But anyways, that's a whole other show. So then all the stuff that I'm seeing, which escalated so much right to that point, vanished. And, you know, I didn't even put that together until later because I was so taken with everything that happened at the accident. It was so scary. It's unbelievably scary. You know, checking that my kids had seen the Jeep, like, oh, really? That's our car. And then the car that hit our Jeep, I mean, there is a serious miracle here. There wasn't a couple people, you know, that had some miracles here. There was everybody involved. That there was just minor injuries for the other drivers. So anyways, so it was a big scene. One of the fathers of one of the other, there was 2 other girls and 2 other cars. It appears, from what I know, that the one that hit the first car, she was a texting teenager, hit the car in the middle, which hit our Jeep. Apparently, it was a pretty horrific scene as it happened, because there's many witnesses and so forth, because where it happened. And so then one of the fathers actually just picked a fight with me, came at me. It was amazing. They had to call extra police and so forth. You know, I was a real short guy. I'm 6'4.5", and a weightlifter and so forth, and, you know, big football player. And so anyways, that was another thing, just bizarre thing. You know, just so many weird things. But anyways, then so, you know, that takes me a while to really unwind from that. But then I noticed that night that everything, you know, turned off. And that was, I knew right away. Boom, right away. Exactly. I'm like, that's what I was seeing. This is a spiritual event. There's a spirit. I'm seeing a spiritual war going on of some, and it is surrounded with fighting over humans and so forth, and it is right here. And I mean, I was just kicking myself. Why didn't I sit and you know, why was I so afraid? I mean, I was absolutely terrified. You know.
Well, welcome to Flat Earth and the Bible. I've got an incredible special guest tonight. This is Flat Earth and the Bible. I'm your host, Robbie Davidson. We've got Jeffrey Grupp. A lot of you will know his work, and some of you obviously won't. So we're going to get right into the backstory, what he's been up to lately, and it's going to be an exciting show. So, Jeff, you there?
I sure am. Great to be here.
Great. It's great having you. Like I said, just been amazing following your work and even just getting into your story and just what led you up to what you're doing now. And I think for a lot of people, myself included, testimonies are so powerful. And I think that you've got like just an absolute incredible testimony to share with the world. And I mean, if you could just maybe start with just kind of give us some of your backstory. I know that you've been featured on Coast to Coast, and you've dabbled in the occult and been a Buddhist, and you've done, teaching critical thinking and schooling, and just unbelievable stories. So maybe you can just start from just what led you up to present.
Yeah, that's the big thing with my life now. I became a Christian on April 16 last year, and I had no idea what that was all about. Um, the way it happened specifically was, I was into all kinds of other things that we can discuss. And occult is, I had a lot of problems to be, really problems in a dark sense, which I can get into what I mean more about that later. But I was into this and that and whatever philosophy and dabbling in shamanism and Buddhism and so forth, doing conspiracy radio. And then last year, I had for several months, February up till April 16. Had some very, very. I started seeing some things. I thought that I was going. I thought I was going crazy. It was really, that sensation when you're not imagining something, you're seeing something. At least, people hearing this will think that is, well, you really were seeing. Well, I can't prove it to you, and that's not the point of this. This is something that there's a lot of Christians have dealt with and has shown them the truth of what's going on in reality. And I, so, and they really escalated, and they became horrific, and they were associated with, just to be honest, some very scary illnesses, to do with my children, especially one of my children. And that was something. Thinking back, weird stuff. Oh, all of a sudden you've got these crazy bumps all over your skin, and they're correlated. I'm a numerology person.